Welcome to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host. I thank you so much for joining us here on the program. A little different look for me. No hat today because I'm wearing a set of headphones because I'm using my laptop today for this particular interview because I'm in a remote location, which is kind of nice to do every once in a while, change it up a little bit. But what is also nice is to have returning guests to our program. And Wajid, actually, he goes by Abdul, Wajid, Hussein Khan. Welcome back, Wajid. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Richard. Great to be back on your show.
I think I got all of that correct this time as well. We have an interesting subject that we're going to talk about, and maybe a lot of folks are going to. We do not intend any offense by any means, but just want to talk about this because I think it's important. I will tell you that when I was working for the Christian radio station, I spent 5 years grappling with this concept, and I finally was able to make peace with it in my own mind. And I say this concept, this aspect of the philosophy of Christianity, having to do with the devil. We're talking today about and again, the devil goes by many different names. We're going to talk about how Satan is dead, perspectives from Wajid's December 2021 podcast. And it's very interesting how many people do believe. And one of the things that I found fascinating in a conversation once with someone was whatever it is that you are looking for, you will find it. If you're looking for the devil, you will find it. If you're looking for God, you will find it. And I thought, well, if in fact there was a literal devil, I'm not going to look. I'm going to look for God. I'm going to look for love. I'm going to look for good. And the Jews have a perspective as well from the Old Testament. And this comes from conversations, Wajid, that I've had with rabbis who have said that those references to the Satan, the devil, in spite of the fact that you will see references to Lucifer, the archangel who was cast out of heaven, the devil, if you will, or Satan, is nothing more than the lower base nature of man. So let me put this question to you to start things off. Is Satan dead? How do we know this? Is it all circumstantial evidence, or do we have a corpse?
We don't have a corpse per se because the battle between good and evil actually occurred on a realm that's it actually didn't occur on the physical realm. It occurred, according to my Yogi master, Dr. George King, occurred on a lower astral realm. As a Yogi master, he was able to project physically from his body. People talk about conscious astral projection, and he was able to reveal. One thing that your listeners need to understand is, first of all, whatever I'm going to say, keep an open mind, and also that truth is stranger than fiction. In the past, in our history, many people have come forward with the truth and were condemned as heretics, were imprisoned, were beheaded, and it caused a lot of strife. And it was only years later that what these people said. Some people said, years ago that the Earth was not flat, was indeed round, and were called heretics. And other astronomers came forward when the church was in power and said that no, the sun does not revolve around the Earth. The Earth revolves around the sun, and things like that would have put people into jail and death. And so my Yogi master, said that truth is greater, better, even more astounding than fiction. And one thing that he always stood for which actually made him very, very unpopular while he was alive. He passed away in 1997, by the way, in Santa Barbara. And he said that, he always took a solemn oath before he went on a podium, because he said, if you want to know the truth, you have to speak the truth. And so he said things that made him very unpopular. And in regards to Satan, when he made these revelations at that time, people, I for one was raised in an Orthodox environment. Many people are, and we're and then of course we're controlled by media, we're controlled by many situations. So when something like this is thrown at somebody, it causes a tremendous stir in the conscious mind, and people either reject it blatantly, outright, or part of them wants to know more. And so, in regards to your listeners, I think they're probably very open-minded, and they probably want to know more. But he did say that Satan was actually destroyed on February the 24th, 1969. And his organization, the Aetherius Society, is probably one of the only organizations that can openly say with conviction that Satan is dead.
So, first of all, where is the can we use this? Where is the empirical documentation, if you will, or maybe more precise, what happened and where on that day in 1969 that led Dr. King to make that statement?
Well, what we have to understand, first of all, is people believe that, if they do good things, they'll go to heaven, or, if they do bad things, they're going to go to hell. That seems to be the general purpose. Some people don't believe that there is evil. They just think that good will always prevail over evil. It will in the end, but evil under the law of karma is still allowed to operate. And in this case, Satan was allowed to operate for a certain time till the karmic law reached up to him. And if you look at our history, there's been many dictators: Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, Pol Pot, you name them, Napoleon, Julius Caesar. They were allowed up to a certain time to stay in power and cause mayhem. But in the end, again, evolution or the law, had to act so that, in a way, they were kind of put. They had to be kind of defeated, or the empires eventually went down, because nothing that is risen by force or dictatorship or possession can evolution is all, we're all going back to the same source, and so that nothing can stop that. It can hold it back, but you can't stop this progress of evolving back. Now, in reference to your other question that you had about that's the devil exists within us, we're influenced by that. That's another different subject in itself, because I strongly believe that we do have a lower self and we do have a higher self, and our lower self tries as much as possible, when we try to evolve, when we try to spiritualize, when we try to do good, to kind of bring us down, keep us under control. And it's like those old cartoons, where they had the devil on the left shoulder and the angel on the right shoulder, and the devil is speaking, things, and the angel is speaking. So again, the American Indians had a similar saying, where they said that there's two wolves that reside inside you. One is hateful, murderous, evil, and the other one is benign, spiritual, and good. And so the question was, well, which wolf is in you? And the answer was the one that you feed. So it's up to us to discriminate. It's up to us to control our thoughts. It's up to us to use our intuition and not take actions which will incur a karmic debt, which will cause, an action, reaction, whatever. We're allowed with our free will to do whatever we want. And, whatever we do comes back to us. Now, in the case of Satan, it was karmically, it was his time to be transmuted. And according to Dr. King, three specially trained spiritual masters were introduced to Earth, known as the three adepts, who were actually in physical bodies. And these masters were assigned especially to take care of these evil centers in the lower astral realms. And what Dr. King says is the 6 levels above us and 4 levels below us, called the lower astral realms. And so it wasn't actually, February the 24th, 1969 was the accumulation of the mission, which actually started, I believe, October the 26th, 1967, and accumulated. So it was an operation called Operation Karmalight, where these interplanetary masters, highly spiritually evolved masters, had been assigned to do battle with the forces of darkness in these lower astral realms. And in regards to a dossier, in regards to information regarding this and this battle, Dr. King did publish a book. It was called The Three Saviors Are Here, and it's available on Amazon. So if people want to learn more about who these mysterious interplanetary masters were, they can read that book, and it'll give them more insight on actually what took place on that fateful day.
Well, it's a very interesting conversation, to say the very least. And are we talking about the one individual, or I'll use the word character, that is referred to in the Old Testament of the Bible as Lucifer, who was the son of the morning, as I think translated, who was one of the archangels, one of God's, so to speak, right-hand men, who said, I'm going to go off and do my own thing. I want to live my own way. Is this the same personage, if you will, that we're talking about?
Well, I believe that aspect of the Bible is interesting. I believe that we all were gods at one time. And I believe that we regressed. I believe that we were part of high civilizations at one time, where we were a lot more spiritual and scientific in many ways, and we've regressed. In regards to Satan, what Dr. King said is that we actually built this monster, because the way the demonic forces work in these lower astral realms is that they don't need food and air like we do on the physical realm. They actually feed on the energies of suffering, of the suffering of mankind. And what Dr. King said is all these wars, this chaos that's occurred over forget the centuries, over thousands, even millions of years, has been specially designed. People like Hitler and all these other people were actually pawns of these demonic forces, especially designed to create a lot of suffering. And these energies of suffering is what these demonic forces feed on, that gives them power, and also gives them power if people go to war and are suddenly killed, to actually take control of these souls when they go into these lower astral realms. So this was something which, again, has not been revealed for centuries. It was only revealed recently through the information that my master got from the higher beings.
Would you say that, could this be a proper analogy, that we as human beings, are we puppets on a string being manipulated by forces we don't understand?
We always have been. And I was going to say we always will, but I'm going to halt there, because right now these are very critical times upon Earth. There is a tremendous spiritual awakening. There's a rise in vibration, astrologically speaking, because of the dawn of the Aquarian age, and also people. I'm sure your listeners know that our planet Earth, the Mother Earth, is a living, breathing goddess, not just a piece of rock, and she has held herself for millions of years of limitation, and she has been told now by higher beings, I guess we can refer to them as the lords of karma, to raise her vibrations. So these things are occurring. So for centuries we have been molded through orthodox conditioning, through the media, through the politics and the dictators. Yes, we have been like clay, and most people have gone to war based on an ideology, thinking that they were doing some good, when in reality they were just pawns to the system. I totally agree with you with that, Richard.
So if that's the case, then where does the balancing act between our supposed free will and predestination come in?
Well, considering the situation of the world right now, I think we're predestined for probably another nuclear holocaust. I mean, we got a war right now brewing between the Ukraine and Russia, which could actually lead to the World War III if people are not careful. And so it's important that people realize that thousands of years ago, when we destroyed other civilizations, we had our free will. And so in regards to free will, yeah, we are allowed to do whatever we want. And look what it's taken us today. You know, our free will has created this political madness, this military dictatorships in various countries, pollution, hatred between races and religions. This is a direct result of our free will. Had we on a collective controlled our free will and listened to the higher beings like Jesus and Buddha, Patanjali, Krishna, Lao Tse, had we listened to these great spiritual masters, life on this planet would be a lot more different. So in regards to this quickening of vibration, I think right now we're being bombarded by inspiration, by light, by higher beings who are sending us light. And it's a great time to be alive on planet Earth right now, because all we have to do is tune into this energy, this spiritual energy of love that comes from the cosmos, primarily from the sun, this pranic energy, the same pranic energy that the Master Jesus used to, heal the sick and cure the blind. It's that same energy, nothing different. And so the call of action today in these very, very precarious, critical times is to, again, raise up and not allow a monster like Satan to rise again, which he won't be able to, because what Dr. King said during this last battle, that his consciousness was actually split into 15,000 different pieces, because he said that if Satan was killed and reincarnated back onto Earth, he said just as Satan, he said by the age of 15, with his mind power, he would have completely controlled this planet. That's how powerful this being was. And don't don't walk away with the idea that Satan, depicted in recent history as a horned, hooved individual with a pitchfork. He was a very, very cunning black magician who had tremendous power, not only in the black arts, but also Dr. King mentioned that technology in these lower astral realms are 200 years more advanced. So he had access to armies, laser weaponries, atomic and spore and micro biological weaponry, which was very advanced. And again, if people read the book, they'll understand that more about that aspect. So it was a very horrific battle in many ways, and had these three interplanetary masters not stopped Satan, we would not be speaking today, because the plan that he had was to easily control the minds of people in Russia, America, China, and caused a nuclear war. He could have easily done that. And once he caused that nuclear war, and the people who died horribly, he would have been able to control them with his mind power. Now, just because Satan is now dead does not mean that evil has been completely transmuted. There are still dark forces in these lower astral realms. There are still dark forces on this physical realm that want to create murder and havoc. And again, it's all about control, because in these realms, in these lower realms, even on this physical realm, it's not about money, because some of these people behind the scenes have trillions of dollars in backing themselves up. It's all about control, and the greatest lust for power is that lust for control over another person. That's the ultimate power that these people want, is this total control and domination of somebody lower than themselves, because they have riches, they have material things. It doesn't matter to them. Again, we can refer to the Bible. It is a battle for the souls of the children of planet Earth, and right now we're right in the midst of it. It's an energy battle. It's dark energy against white energy. It's white magician against black magician. Of course, when I refer to black and white, I don't mean any race in particular, but I'm talking about the energy,
the duality.
Yeah, and that energy actually is the same energy. The dark energy is the same pranic energy as white energy. It's just the motive behind it, and the conditioning of the energy. And so it was an energy battle in these lower astral realms in the end. And these three masters prevailed, and Satan was transmuted. So again, when I talked about that 15,000 split in consciousness, so his consciousness was split in 15,000 pieces that will individually reincarnate back onto Earth under terrible limitations, according to the negative karma that this monster accumulated over the centuries.
Was there a particular event that took place that we might be aware of that happened on the 24th of February, 1969?
The thing is, most people, unless you're advanced, and unless you could project into these lower realms,
okay,
the majority, or if you're even psychic and you're even aware of these realms, most people on this planet weren't even aware of this battle that occurred, and it happened under their noses. While everything was happening, this battle took place. So the only, what Dr. King said is the only way to learn about this. He gave the book, The Three Saviors, as a guideline. But he said that the only way that eventually that people on planet Earth will learn about this great battle is that in the future, when they become advanced adepts themselves, and they can project and read the Akashic records of planet Earth, just like a yogi master can read your aura, look at your aura and read and see your past, present, and future, which has been, proved over centuries with some of these great yogi masters. And a yogi master is able to project from his body where our planet has an aura, and she has her the history, which can be read in fourth dimensional color. It's like, I would describe it maybe as a super computer. People refer to it as the Akashic records. And he said he said the truth of this operation called Operation Karmalight will not be fully understood by the masses until they reach that highest state of evolution and can actually see in detail what took place. So yeah, nobody, you, me, I was a kid when this happened. Nobody on this planet was even aware that this horrific battle was taking place. That's our own fault, because we've involved ourselves to the point where we should really be adepts and masters, and we're not. And it's our own fault because we've regressed ourselves by our own inactions that have created the position that we are in right now. When we're not supposed to be on this planet suffering. Dr. King said there's only one reason that we're on this planet, and that's to raise our consciousness, raise the Kundalini to high levels in the psychic centers, and to have these deep states of peaceful ecstasy, nirvana, cosmic consciousness, eventually ascension, break the cycle of rebirth. That's our heritage, not the conditions that we've created on this planet. And again, I think these are critical times. I think it's important that this battle between good and evil is revealed to the public. It probably hasn't been revealed before. Nobody's even heard of this battle. And so I guess I can represent, because my master has passed away, I can be a representative of my master and reveal these truths to those who are willing to listen.
We're talking with Wajid, and we're talking about the death of Satan. February 24th, 1969. I was 8 years old at the time, so obviously unaware of what was going on. I was more interested in child games and things than anything else, and of course in school and all that good stuff. We're talking about this because it is going to open up some areas that we haven't really discussed on this program much at all. And I'm thinking that we've reached a place where, and I'm with you as well as Dr. George King, about being here to raise our consciousness. That's what we are all about here on Tell Me Your Story. As I believe it was Einstein who said that you cannot solve the problems that exist with the same consciousness that created them. We've got to raise our consciousness in that regard. And I've actually come to the conclusion, and I would agree with Dr. King, that we're not here to suffer. We're not here to just survive. We're here to thrive. We've been given an opportunity, whether we created it or it was created for us, to live lives full of abundance. Yes, prosperity. Yes, joy and happiness, peace and tranquility, as well as some thrills. We can, believe it or not, you can still have thrills and chills, if you will, while enjoying and thriving in the life that we've been given. But unfortunately, we're experiencing the suffering aspects as we are talking here. I want to ask you, before we move on here, I made reference to the Creator, in that the Creator is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. And this is going back to, of course, the philosophy that I am most familiar with, of course, the Christian philosophy and the teachings, and especially from the Old Testament. And I've come to this conclusion. Help me if I am in error of this conclusion, or what have you, or maybe I need to have my awareness of this conclusion broadened. Lucifer was set up. It was a trap that, because God knew exactly what was going on, he knew what was coming. He knew that he was going to have to create a sacrifice, and it was going to have to be, quote unquote, his son, in spite of the fact that the Son was still the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, the Trinity, that whole mystery. And that even lays the groundwork to say, we've all been set up. It says in the Old Testament that the sins of the father are passed on to the sins of the son to 7 generations. I think Adam is a few more than just 7 generations from me. Ergo, I don't own, nor do I participate in the acceptance of original sin. So I'm curious, from your perspective, from the philosophy as Dr. George King has shared it, Have we been set up by the Creator? Has this all been just a play laying out, and then of course that opens that door again to whole issue of free will versus predestination? This was all preordained. There is a script, and our lives really don't have meaning because, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I've met a lot of Catholics who are not Catholics anymore because they were raised with this punishing God and the original sin, and they don't believe that anymore. And I don't blame them, because if they're, I don't believe there's anything as a punishing God. I believe we punish ourselves by our inactions. And we, as the Master Jesus said, as you sow, so shall you reap. Even concepts of, Dr. King said that, the Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden, he said is just a fairy story. It's a story that has a lot of truth behind it. He obviously they were referring to something we discussed in the last episode that I was with you, that we were at one time in utopia, in the Garden of Eden, on another planet in this solar system that orbited between Jupiter and Mars, known as Maldek, which we actually destroyed in an atomic explosion, where from 18 million years ago, where we were actually reincarnated onto this planet. So if you regard original sin, I guess that would be our original sin, the fact that we blew up our home planet called Maldek, and we've probably had to pay karmic consequences for the murder of this planet. And again, if we talk about sin, let's talk about the rise afterwards of Lemuria that was destroyed in an atomic war, and the rise and fall of Atlantis that was destroyed in an atomic war. Let's talk about World War I, World War II, where millions and millions were murdered. Let's talk about the atomic explosions that occurred in the 50s and 60s that again nearly wiped out civilization if it wasn't for intervention from these higher beings that actually absorbed a lot of this atomic fallout. So in regards to original sin, we have created our own sins, and so we don't take on anybody's sin or anybody's karma. Everything that the situation that we're in is a direct result of nobody else but ourselves. And when we die, we have to answer to our higher self. We won't be in front of a cruel judge who will judge us for our sins and our good deeds, but we will be judged by our own higher self, and either impose limitations on our rebirth or have more opportunities to advance when we reincarnate. You talk about the fact that we're not here to suffer. Some of these cosmic beings that spoke through our master, he said these civilizations on higher vibrations in this solar system have lived in peace for millions of years. And he said our heritage, he said, is we should be in and right now, if we did follow spiritual principles as laid down by the great masters, he said we should be on a planet where there should be ideal conditions of weather, abundance, food. Even old age is a terrestrial curse. We're not supposed to have old age. There's planets where people live in the same body for up to 25,000 years. And he said there's no need for transportation. People can move around the planet by telekinesis. He says that's our heritage, complete harmony. And on a positive note, I will say that despite the conditions that are occurring on the planet right now, it has been foreseen by the prophets of old and the prophets of new, like my Yogi master, that there is going to be a new age that will occur on planet Earth in the centuries to come. And only those who can tune in and raise their vibrations will be allowed by karmic law to stay and enjoy this new age. It's not going to happen easily. We all have to work hard spiritually to be part of this new age. And those who don't, the dictators and the murderers, they will all after death be taken to another planet in this solar system to reincarnate and start their bloody history cycle that they created on this planet. So that's another prophecy that will occur in the future. So I think it's a message of hope. It's a message of inspiration, and it's a call for action for everybody on this planet, on a collective. We've always been told that we're a Jew or a Muslim or a Hindu or a Christian. We're not. We're all. We've always been told that we're American or Egyptian or Indian or English. We're not. The higher beings refer to us as the human race, as a collective. We come as different cultures, different races, even different genders, on and off this world, so that we learn these experiences, different experiences, till we reach a point where we can rise above and learn all the lessons that we need to learn. And you're right, Richard. We're not here to suffer. This is our own making. And so these are very, I think they're wonderful times to be on Earth, because I think the power that we can invoke and send out, this healing power, is greater. And I believe this is also the end of these dark beings, and they know it's the end. So they're trying as much as possible to stay in power and create these conditions like this sudden situations that's occurring between Ukraine and Russia, which could actually lead to World War III if people are not careful. And so I know people who are sending energy, peace energy, healing energy to rectify the situation. I know Dr. King's organization, they're sending out thousands of energies through spiritual energy radiators to appease the situation. And bombs and hatred, weaponry has been tried over and over again. And the only weaponry that has not been tried en masse in peace are our own spiritual weapons that we have, our psychic senses in the palms of our hand and our heart center, and radiating this power to help transmute this mental pollution that we've created on planet Earth at this time.
We're talking with Wajid about the death of Satan here on Tell Me Your Story, and we are. I am fascinated by this. I hope you are as well. These are not stories that are new to me. I can tell you that right now. Now, long before I ever heard of Dr. George King, your guru, if you will, I have been introduced to these concepts, these ideas, this philosophy, if you will, these stories that are not just stories, I'm sure. One of the fascinating things I have found, not just about man, but more specifically about America over the time that I've been here, this brief period on this planet, 61 years. Americans can't seem to go very long. And I say this more to the government, in reference to the government. The government cannot seem to go on for a very long period of time without having an enemy. I remember when the Cold War came to an end. I thought, well, this is good. Maybe some good will come from this. Well, it didn't last very long, because we no longer had the USSR, the commies, to have enemies. So what did we do? We made enemies of the Muslims, and it didn't take more than a few years. I think it was 1993 was one of the early alleged attacks on America by the alleged extremists. You've heard the phrase red flag operations, where things are generated by the group. It's kind of like people have this idea about computers and viruses. Viruses are not created by hackers out there who are trying to disrupt and destroy. They're created by the manufacturers of the very software they want to sell you to solve the problem. There never was a problem until they came along. Now there is a problem. Oh, and I have the solution for it. And I kind of feel the same way that our government and governments around the world, regardless of time period, I'm sure this has been going on for centuries, Wajid. If there isn't a problem, they'll create one so that they can be heroes and come up with the solution. Unfortunately, we end up having collateral damage, as it is called, hundreds and thousands, if not millions, of dead human beings. And I think about the lost potential. It's just so sad. Anyway, talk to us a little bit about that if you can.
Well, the thing that people need to understand is that the governments of the world are just pawns of the black magicians who control these governments, and it doesn't matter who rises in power. That the status quo continues.
Mm-hmm.
These endless wars continue. This suffering continues. Putting people in financial debt. The cosmic beings, they said that the economic system of this world is a cancer in the heart of spiritual man. That's very profound, because it stops.
Yes.
It does not allow our spiritual, keeping people in debt slavery, keeping people in slavery in work conditions. What time do you have to go within? What time do you have to go to realize your spiritual potential when you're constantly bogged down by material, limitations? Dr. King said there's 13 faceless beings that control this planet. So I do believe there's a shadow government that controls through magic.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these, and all these wars and everything are specially designed. There's nothing haphazard. One of the cosmic beings that spoke through Dr. King said that they specially prepare their magic, this dark black magic, so that these conditions are created so that they can keep in power. And so again, something that your listeners probably haven't even heard of. I never heard of this till I came into contact with my spiritual master. And so these things are being revealed now, that people's intuitions, because of this spiritual awakening, people's intuition is, I was talking to this young man in Australia, in Melbourne, the other day, and he was just blown away, because part of him they said that the subconscious mind never forgets anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it remembers everything from billions of years ago, all our past lives. It's just that we don't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
But part of the subconscious, when people speak the truth, especially blatant truth like these, which have never been heard, part of the intuition of the subconscious pricks up and realizes that there's something there and it can't be explained. And so trying to prove or explain something is one thing, but when your intuition, which I still believe is the greatest lie detector ever created, when your intuition realizes that there's something there, and so because of this awakening, all these, for the fact that Satan was killed and transmuted, opened up an avenue of freedom, mental and psychic freedom, and the fact that because of this great awakening right now, these are the last days of the old order, and the old order was control of the masses by the dark forces, is being broken thanks to these interplanetary masters that came and suffered on our behalf, and did battle in these lower astral realms. And so slowly mankind, these bonds of mental and physical and emotional and psychic slavery are slowly being broken, and we can break out from this, and the dark forces not might, but eventually will be transmuted, and they will be taken away, and this new age will come. So people talk about in Christianity the end of days. The Mayan calendar ended in 2012. It wasn't the end of the world. It was the beginning of a new era for mankind. So I totally agree with you that there is something more powerful behind the governments that works in secrecy. We don't even know who these people are. They hide themselves very, very quickly, but very easily, and they don't show themselves. But I think every government around the world is just a pawn to these dark, very, very powerful beings.
To me, it is a fascinating conversation we're having here with Wajid, who is also a follower, if you will, if I'm using the right term here, Wajid, of Dr. George King and the 12 blessings. We've spoken about the 12 blessings in previous programs as well. I want to talk a little bit about something else that we haven't really delved into on this program, and that has to do with this whole aspect of intergalactic, I don't want to say interference. Maybe it's concern, maybe it's monitoring, whatever the case may be. And by the way, my comments earlier about us always having to have an enemy, a lot of people are getting tired of having other human beings as enemies. So the government has basically started to acknowledge that, oh, yes, UFOs are real and they're dangerous. And my first thought is, no, they're not dangerous, because if they've traveled through light years of time to get here, that means they have the technology. We don't stand a chance. If they were malevolent, both you and I, Wajid, would not be having this conversation.
Well, my master was in contact with these higher beings that man these UFOs. We don't even have to go outside of the solar system. He wrote a book in the 50s called "You Are Responsible," where he shared experiences of visiting these advanced civilizations on Mars and Venus, and he was laughed at when he talked about that there was life on Mars and Venus, and he said there's also advanced life on Jupiter, on Neptune, on Uranus, and except for Mercury, he says there's advanced civilizations on these planets. Now, again, he was laughed at and ridiculed when he said that in the 50s. People are thinking differently now. Quantum physics is proving, based on their calculations of different parallel universes, different dimensions that exist at the same time, and people are now aware that there's other realms of existence on this planet, and of course there's other realms of existence on other planets. So when Dr. King projected to Mars and Venus, he met these advanced scientifically and spiritual beings on levels which we're not even aware of, levels 4 and 5 and 6, which we unless again we're advanced beings, we can't even project to those levels. That's why sometimes you see a UFO suddenly appearing and then disappearing. So they had the technology to come onto the physical realm and then dematerialize onto their realm. In regards to the fear aspect, I think fear is the biggest weapon on this planet that is being used to control and keep the masses, under the divide and conquer rule. The fear of UFOs is absolutely, laughable. Dr. King asked these beings, he said, if you were to take over this planet, how soon would you do it? They said between 10 and 15 minutes, they could completely control this planet, everything on this planet. Mm-hmm. That's how powerful and advanced they are. So there's nothing to fear from these people. I haven't had direct contact with them, but I did have an experience where I did have a direct experience with a spacecraft from another world out in the wilderness, and for me, the feelings that I got even then, I was 18 years of old, 18 years at the time old, was that these were very advanced beings, not only scientifically, but also spiritually. And they seem to show an unconditional love for the whole race, which we don't have right now. There isn't this unconditional love for everybody here, but they're so advanced. And so this fear aspect, is coming through. Again, I believe in the coming years, I'm not sure when, but it's been said that they will land openly when the time is right. And people have nothing to fear, because they will offer mankind a way out. They won't fix the problems.
Right.
There's this one person somewhere in Europe who's saying that the Intergalactic Federation will openly land and fix everything. Again, that makes nonsense, because they're not allowed by the law of karma to intervene until we have risen up to their level. They can't come down to our level. So we, on the collective, have to take that responsibility of fixing it. They will send the energy, they will send the inspiration, they will send the teachings. They send interplanetary teachers like Jesus and Buddha and Krishna, who I believe were not of this world, to teach mankind. So they've been amongst us over the centuries. They've never left us. And so, there's absolutely nothing to fear from these extraterrestrial beings at all.
Well, I will tell you that if they were to land here, let's say on the mountain where I live, I would ask them to take me with them. Now, granted, I've got a lot of work to do here. And yes, they're not here to fix it. But they certainly are not malevolent in that respect. And it's good to know that they are of a higher spiritual ilk, if you will. And that's one of the things that we talk about. You mentioned before about our intuition, and we talk about that on this program all the time. We are encouraging people to participate in the campaign that we started in September of 2019 of participating in at that time, it was the upcoming year of perfect vision, the 2020, the year. And then following that, it was the decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, where we asked them to go within. That's where you're going to get your perfect vision, because you're going to get that information, that insight, that encouragement in a place where you can just relax and be calm and peaceful and so forth. I used to wonder, Wajid, if I could find this one place on the planet, somewhere on the planet, where nobody else would go, where it would be quiet and peaceful, and I could just get away from everybody. And then I came to the realization that if I could find it, then so could others. And it was then that it did dawn on me. Oh, there is a place where no one else but I can go. And that's within myself. I would like to talk a little bit about that, a little more about the aspect of our intuition, but I do want to remind you, our listeners and viewers, you are listening to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m. We're here for a special edition of Tell Me Your Story at 9 a.m. And you can hear those programs as they are broadcast at richarddugan.com. There is a listen live link for you. The podcasts are also available to you. They contain the full interview, because the radio broadcasts don't give you that opportunity. So you can listen to them on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and many other locations on the internet. And you can watch these interviews on YouTube. Tell Me Your Story, Richard Dugan. That's the channel that you want to go to. And you'll basically be looking for the guy with the black hat. I hope that you will subscribe to the podcasts or video casts. And also, we would also encourage you that if you like what we're bringing you in terms of the information, we would love to have you support us financially if you can do so. We have a PayPal account. It is for your security as well as ours. There's a link on the homepage of Tell Me Your Story of richarddugan.com. And all you have to do is put in my email address as the person you're sending the contribution to, and that is richard@richarddugan.com. That's richard@richarddugan.com. Wajid, I want to get back to this issue of intuition. I've been doing this program for over 14 years. There have been programs where I have these thoughts in my mind of questions I want to ask. And sometimes, I had one instance where the question came and I thought, no, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And it was like it kept knocking at the door and pounding on the door. And finally, I told my guest, I says, look, I got to stop with the questions I'm asking, because there's a question that I'm being prompted to ask you that at first glance doesn't seem to have anything to do with what we're talking about. And of course, it turned out that it did. How and why, from your perspective, in reference especially to this aspect of the 12 blessings and Dr. George King, is our intuition so vital, so important, and imperative in one sense that we start listening to and following the promptings?
Well, again, it goes back to, that we have a lower self and a higher self. And we talk about the battle between good and evil. There's been a battle raging on this planet for centuries that the cosmic beings talked about, between the lower self and the higher self. And so, our lower self wants to stay in power and wants us to remain in a limited state. It's actually frightened of evolving. It's frightened of being transmuted, and so it tries to stay in power within us. And the promptings of the higher self, you, and probably every listener has probably regretted many moves. I know for myself, personally speaking, that I made that have caused a lot of suffering in my life and the suffering of others, because I didn't listen. I was kind of, I was going with blinders on and just, my way or the highway, and just being very stubborn and obstinate in many aspects of my life that caused me a lot of unnecessary suffering, where I should have listened not only to my intuition, also listened to beings with more experience than I have. And I was young and I was idiotic, but we all make mistakes. Who doesn't? And so long as we learn from these mistakes, it's important that, as we grow older, that we generally become more gentle, more calmer as we grow older, and become a little bit more wiser. And then there's some aspects of my life I wish I could have replayed again, because of my mental condition now, because of my experiences. So all the good and bad experiences are all essential. And so there's no point in kicking ourselves and blaming ourselves for the past. We just have to stay in the present and open ourselves up to these higher inspirations. There was one thing I did want to bring up, Richard, in regards to UFOs as well, that just came through to me. Was that also, your listeners need to understand that in this galaxy there are very evil alien forces as well. No doubt about it. They're not all benign individuals. I believe that based on Dr. King's information, that the advanced beings in the solar system have a kind of have been protecting us from. He referred to some instances where this planet was actually attacked by evil alien forces and were repelled. So we talk about good and evil on this planet. There's also good and evil in the galaxy, and so again, we're very blessed to have these beings that look after us, that protect us. He referred to some of the technology that they have, just like he said one particular spacecraft could completely destroy this planet. They could cut the planet in half with a high definition laser beam that's so advanced. I mean, that's the kind of power that the cosmic beings have and the alien forces have. And so they refer to our nuclear weapons as harmless as toothpicks. So this is the kind of power struggles that they have had against evil forces. Now, and coming back to Satan as well, it was foreseen. Now, this just really blows my mind, but it was foreseen centuries ago that these higher beings on the advanced planets, especially on Saturn, which is considered the most advanced spiritual planet on the higher mental realms in the solar system, but some of these advanced beings saw the fall of mankind by Satan centuries ago, and it was they that asked these three interplanetary beings to regress themselves and to be reborn on this planet as humanoids, in order that they were so advanced that they were the only being. Well, plus there was other beings as well that helped them, but they were specially trained to deal with evil demonic forces, while we on Earth were like helpless children. We had no idea what was happening. And what Dr. King said, that he said if Satan would have taken over, he said, he could have controlled the minds of every man, woman, and child on this planet, and would have had total mental control over us. And that's what we were saved from, tyranny. And again, this shows the compassion of these higher beings that foresaw this centuries. You talk about being psychic and maybe predict the future, or of somebody in 10 or 20 years. These people saw centuries ago the fall of man, and in their compassion they introduced these beings to transmute Satan. So again, how dare anybody call these beings evil or have any fear of them? It just doesn't make sense whatsoever. So again, coming back to intuition, your question about intuition, I remember I was driving in London once, and I was about to pull out of this intersection, and this voice inside me said, "Brake." And I pressed the brake. And as I pressed this brake, this big truck went right whizzing past me. Now, if I hadn't pressed my brake and come out, I would have been killed. And so, on top of intuition, I also believe we have spirit guides that watch over us and are concerned about us. So not only that, we have to, again, open ourselves up, open our mind to these into these feelings, that still small voice that can tell between what's right and what's wrong.
I want to ask you from the perspective of our conversation here, why? Why are these intergalactic beings or the other realms there? Why are they protecting us? Why are they helping us? Who are we that they are doing this? What is our significance in the universe, regardless of realm, regardless of material or spiritual realm?
You refer to some of the teachings in the 12 blessings, which came through Dr. King from from the Master Jesus himself, while he was in a deep somatic trance. And what these beings realize is something that we haven't realized yet, that we are divine beings, that we are, at one time we were gods, and we've regressed ourselves. And, dictators and politicians and generals, generally when they're in power, they don't want anybody to rise above them. They want to keep that control.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with these cosmic beings, they recognize that we have that spark of divinity just like they have. And so, it's an unconditional love that, again, is alien to us. That's probably why they are alien, because they love mankind with a kind of love that we don't have towards ourselves, because they recognize that we have this potential to rise and become adepts and masters. And so they want us to join them in the cosmos. So they realize, again, that we as this like insignificant microbe on Earth called man is part of the cosmos, just as part of the solar system of the cosmos as they are. And so they look at it as their responsibility to raise these microscopic motes of semi-consciousness, which we are, because they're thousands and if not millions of lives advanced, but they see that potential within every, even the dark forces have that potential. And so the door is never closed, and you can be the worst of the worst. And even they even said that in these days of service, they can send beams to a mass murderer who's actually doing work, who's actually doing something good. So nobody is left behind. They do more work in the lower astral realms than they do even on the physical realm, because if you murder somebody on this planet, you bring the whole race down just that little bit more. Or if you heal somebody, you raise that race just a little bit more. And so we're all part of the collective. We're part of the solar system. We're all one life, the rocks, the trees, the weather, the wind, us, the solar system, the galactic system. It's all one. And they have a greater realization of that oneness than we do. And so, again, I think you referred to, going to a place. Today, it's very important to go to that place, and that place is within. Dr. King talked about two Buddhas of this world. In the old days, it was the Buddha who detached himself from mankind and went in, who was looked upon as greatness because he or she was able to rise their consciousness away from mankind, maybe in a monastery or a cave, and become advanced. The call of action today is service in the middle of mankind, in the middle of civilization, sending out the power, but at the same time, spending time also going within, instead of, looking down at our iPhones at the gloom and doom. Maybe spend time in nature, go to the ocean, climb some mountains, people, and look up into the skies, and realize that we are this tiny speck of the universe, and we are all one. So I 100% agree that not only do we have to send out the power, in my case, I do through the 12 blessings, which again, you talk about white and black magic, that the 12 blessings itself is a wonderful white magic ritual of sending out power to various focal points of these blessings. And if people want to join us, we have a 12 blessings online service pretty much every day. We have people from 30, 40 different countries joining us for this wonderful ritual, and it's free. And if people want to go, you can just go to 12blessings.org. So another way of sending out the light. So a balance between going in and going without. A lot of this stuff right now, it's all about going in, sitting by the ocean in Hawaii or Malibu and feeling good. There's a little bit too much of that over the top, and being kind of selfish. But it's a case of a balance of staying unselfish, staying within mankind, but at the same time going within and finding some peace and serenity in the madness.
Mm. Are there other beings, such as human beings, elsewhere in the galaxy, let alone the universe, that are going through what we are going through and receiving the same kind of, we'll call it support, intergalactically?
Great question, because our Earth is not only one planet that's involved in many ways. There are other planets in the galaxy that are also at a lower evolutionary scale than we are. There are other humanoids in other parts of the galaxy that are going through probably similar experiences than we are, although we are considered by these beings as a very backward, barbaric race, which we are, a very savage race. But there was one message transmission that Dr. King received that gave us a glimmer of hope. He said there was a particular planet in the galaxy that was going through a similar trial that we on Earth are going through right now, and they opened themselves up to the energies, because these beings, again, truth is greater than fiction, but on their advanced radionic computerized systems, they have a complete dossier they have a vibrational sequence of every man, woman, child, rock, plant, fish, animal on this planet. They have a complete they can just like we can tune online. We're all online with them. Now, there's nothing to fear about that, because all we have to do is think telepathically to them, or reach out to them or to the cosmos, and energies will be sent down to us. Now, in reference to this other planet in the galaxy, they were approached like we were approached on Earth, and they listened to these promptings. They opened their hearts and their minds to these energies, and they said within 50 years the whole planet completely transformed. So we on a collective, if we open ourselves up to the higher vibrations, we can probably overnight, that's a pipe dream because people are not ready yet, but slowly people are, but we can change these conditions. So that to me was a wonderful story of hope and inspiration when I heard that particular transmission.
And then there's the concept of privacy. And I learned this, believe it or not, while I was working at the Christian radio station. And I pondered and pondered and pondered this. This was long before the internet. And a lot of people back then were still concerned, obviously, about their privacy, keeping certain things secret. You know, whether it's a second life, they've got a secret life that they're living, or bank account, or whatever it is. Or certain events that happened in their past that they don't want people to know about. And I came to the conclusion, going back to the Creator, being omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, that the Creator already knows everything about me, everything, down to the subatomic level. And so I thought, using today's numbers, what difference would it make if 8 billion other people knew, and most of them don't care because they're too busy just surviving? And some would say, well, yeah, but Richard, somebody who is, who wants to do you harm, wants to steal your life and your identity and all of that stuff. And it's like, well, wait a minute. They can't steal my identity. You are looking at Richard Dugan. I am looking at Wajid. Okay. No one has stolen that, which is truly me, my essence. So all the other stuff is it's just kind of materialized or materialistic information, whether it's about my bank account, about my health, and so forth and so on, or even about my past history. That's all in this realm, this material world. None of this matters. And correct me if I'm wrong, in the spirit world, in the other realms. It's irrelevant. And that's why I often say, I'm not saying that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, these inalienable rights, are wrong or bad. I'm saying they're irrelevant when it comes to our spiritual life, even our inner life. Am I wrong?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, these days, a lot of our privacy is being slowly melted away. I mean, they say even our iPhones listen in, so, which I think is not a good thing. I think we should have our own privacy in regards to bank accounts or whatever, but I think more and more of that is being taken away. I think it's going to get bad before it's going to get worse before it gets better. I think it'll reach a stage where people will just eventually say enough is enough, and the law will also act where it doesn't matter how powerful anybody is on this planet, or Dr. King says on any other planet, but when the lords of karma declare that this person or that person must be transmuted and changed, there's not a power in the galaxy that can stop that. And so no matter how powerful these beings are, they can't stop that. In regards to privacy, again on a higher level, they say that the God or the higher beings know even when a bird falls from the sky. So again, this is something beyond our comprehension, that they can tune in to every life stream on this planet and know. Dr. King says we've never been left alone. Never in our spiritual journey, never, ever, no matter how far we regress. And so these beings, again, are so advanced that they know all our they can pick up all our thoughts. They can pick up they know all our motives. Everything is known about us. But that is nothing to fear, because because they're highly evolved spiritual beings, so they don't judge. And so because they know all our feelings and all our thoughts, when we reach out to them on a spiritual level, they will send that power to us. And so that's probably the main reason why we are online with them. It's not so much, again, of control, but the fact is that they, if we want to rise, they will send us the power. So they don't interfere with us. If they did, they would, like I said, they could totally control us. They don't do that.
And at the same time, if they are highly evolved spiritual beings, and we, depending upon how you look at it, are spiritual beings. I don't know where we are on the spectrum of a scale of 1 to 10, maybe 1, maybe 2. But if we are all spiritual beings, regardless of evolutionary level, then we're all connected, which means that whatever information there is, we all have access to. But as you, I think, very well put, of those others, it's not about having that information for the purposes of judgment or control. It seems to me it is for the purposes of awareness. I see why they are doing what they're doing, because of what happened back there, and so forth. And we cannot step in and stop them from doing what they're doing, but what we can do is we can be there with them and maybe encourage them, inspire them to maybe make a different choice, but it will still be their choice. So that gives me a great deal of hope from that standpoint, that there are those on this planet who say nobody has my back, nobody cares about me, because of their circumstances, economic or social, whatever the case might be. And I have to say that victimhood is one of those things that generates the fear that we seem to revisit. I thought back in the 80s here in the United States, when we went through that phase where we blamed our parents and our elders for why we are the way we are. Then we moved into understanding what codependency is. Then I came up with a one term to describe the form, I'll just say form of government or social structure that every cell in our bodies functions under. And it's not democracy, it's not a republic, it's not communism or socialism, it's interdependentism. And we as human beings, we need to get there to learn about interdependentism. Does Dr. King talk about that concept or something similar to that in terms of sort of using the analogy that we're walking up, we're all climbing this ladder, and there's someone above us and there's someone below us. And the person above is reaching their hand down to help us up as we are reaching our hand to help the person below us.
Well, yeah, I mean, he said we are our brother's keeper, whether we like it or not. He didn't like it. You know, I don't like it. But the truth stands. Truth is, and we're just sort of responsible. It was just responsible towards the terrorist, and closer to the terrorist as we are to our own family, which again is a concept which, until we evolve down the road, that we won't totally understand. That the people we hate the most are the ones that are closest to us.
Yeah,
again,
isn't that funny?
a very foreign way of thinking, but you know, we can't rise in these days without helping somebody else to rise, and that's a call of action. It's not about us anymore. The only way to evolve in these days, in the age of Aquarius, is to help another person evolve as well. So we have this responsibility, not only to the people of the planet right now, but also to leave a legacy for the younger generation, so that they can live on a planet that's not going into regression over the threat of war, nuclear warheads over themselves. We are interconnected. All of us have this inner potential that has not been realized. Some realized it quicker than others. We all, initially they said, scientists talk about the Big Bang, where the universe expanded. The yogis talk about the outbreath of God, which is, I like better than the Big Bang theory, where the absolute, for some reason not known to us, involved itself into billions and billions of different pieces of consciousness, and we're just all evolving back to that one source. And so just that realization as already makes us evolve, just having that realization that we are all connected to the one. You know, there's forces that, again, coming back to the devil, coming back to the forces of darkness, they want us to apparently believe that we're superior to other races, that we're superior to other religions, that we're superior, you know, and it's all a big lie. It's a big lie. It's a fallacy. There is no race that's superior to another race. We're all one. And, you know, if you think that you're superior to one particular race, you may come back and become that race that you thought you were superior to, just to teach, not to punish you, just to teach you.
Yeah.
And it comes back to, again, the truth about reincarnation, which the higher beings are saying that needs to be reintroduced. Interesting enough that some Christian scholars have come up, based on their research, that reincarnation was actually taught 700 years ago, and the Christian religion was deliberately taken out with this ridiculous one life to live so that they could control the masses. But if the truth of reincarnation was introduced, people, first of all, would understand the so-called inequalities of man, why somebody's born rich, somebody born poor, somebody's born with cancer, another person there's a high IQ, somebody can play the piano at the age of 3. All these are, there's no such thing as a innocent child. We all come with baggage from our past lives. That's why we're here, in order to learn more. And so one thing that would instantly probably occur is that people will be very careful going to war, knowing that they could actually murder somebody who could have been their mother or father or brother or sister in a past life. So this truth, this universal truth, whether we like it or not, whether we believe it or not, reincarnation is a fact. People can do their own research. There's so much evidence for reincarnation, and that truth, the cosmic beings have actually said that those who suppress that information will be replaced by new thinkers, by new age thinkers, who will actually replace these people, because you can only hold alive for a while till it's till it's exposed, and so you can only control the people for a certain period of time till you're exposed by the law of karma. So,
well, I'll tell you, there's in this program that we have been talking here, there is a lot to think about. Wajid, I have a final question in the context of our conversation here. I wanted to ask you, and I want to ask it very respectfully. Your name, Abdul Wajid Hussein Khan, makes me think that the philosophy that you grew up with was somewhere in the Middle East.
Well, I was born in Pakistan, and when we moved to England, I was raised as a Muslim. And at the same, I went to the mosque, read the Quran, did the Arabic prayers. At the same time, I also went to during the day, went to Church of England schools, where I studied the Bible, sang hymns, and had Christmas carols, and I loved both aspects of Islam and Christianity. And again, coming back to past lives, it was at the age of 16 I read Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, and all these thoughts came flooding into my mind, just inspiration after inspiration, and this knowledge that I know these things that had occurred in India. So there's aspect to me that there was a Muslim and a Christian in this life, and definitely a yogi in a past life. And it was these higher inspirations that I remembered when I met my master, that realization dawned that indeed he was a yogi master of the high caliber, because my intuition told me that he was a great person. And I've been following him for over 40 plus years. And so I encompass many aspects of my life that have made me the person that I am. And again, in regards to religion, I can sit just as comfortably, and I have done, in a synagogue, in a Hindu temple, as I have in a church and a mosque. And we should realize that these are all just different. They were the same teachings given in different cultures, different times, but say the same things. And so again, we don't need to return to dogma. We need to return to the spiritual laws. And I think we discussed that last time about thou shalt not kill and be good to your neighbor, basic things,
Yep. Well, Wajid, I want to thank you so much for giving us so much time here on the program to talk about this. We started out, of course, talking about how Satan is dead. Hear ye, Satan is dead. And I'm glad to hear it, although I haven't believed in that character for many, many years. And it has actually made my life better for it. It didn't make any sense in the first place, because what it did was it turned the creator into an extortionist. And I don't believe that the creator is an extortionist. And so I thank you so much for sharing your perspective and that of your master, Dr. George King, here on the program, and in light of the 12 blessings, 12blessings.org. So really do appreciate it.
Yeah, and if they want to go to Amazon and get The Three Saviors Are Here, it goes into more technical details of Operation Karmalight and the transmutation of Satan. Again, a book they will never ever read anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if they want more information on myself, they can go to my website, which is Wajid, author, WAJIDAUTHOR.com.
Well, Wajid, if I can get this to show up on the screen, and it doesn't look like it's going to, I actually have my copy here of the 12 blessings.
Oh, wonderful.
It's not showing up on the screen, which is really strange. I don't know why that is. I don't have a green screen, but apparently Zoom is doing it. But it's the 12 blessings. It is the cosmic concept as given by the Master Jesus, and it's a hard cover, and it's kind of nice to have. And I'm going to spend some time going through those 12 blessings again and again and again. I think that we could learn a lot. And again, we've learned a lot here on this program, and I really do appreciate the time you've given us. I do want to say to you, our listeners and viewers, that I thank you for listening to and viewing Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. As we are looking for those new ways of living, all you have to do is look around you. The old ways just aren't working. So let's try something different. What's it going to hurt? I mean, maybe we'll, eliminate some suffering along the way. Wouldn't that be nice? We also want to let you know that we're here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., and 9 a.m. on Wednesdays for our special edition of Tell Me Your Story. We stream live at those times at richarddugan.com. The podcasts are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, as well as Amazon Music. And we are on YouTube, where you can watch these interviews. I hope you will. We'll be linked to Wajid's guest website as well. And that website, once again, is wajidauthor.com.
Yeah.
All right, wajidauthor.com, just as we are linked on our previous get-togethers with Wajid. And I guarantee you, folks, we're going to have him back again to talk more about some of the interesting insights into who and what we really are as spiritual beings. I look forward to those opportunities. I hope that you'll also take time to participate in the Decade of Perfect Vision, the 2020, spending that time going within, listening to your intuition, that still small voice, and just being. You want to be perfect? You really want to be perfect? Then just be. It says in the New Testament, be ye perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. Well, the Creator was neither good nor bad, right nor wrong, white or black. And in the Old Testament, it talks about being still and knowing that I am God. Be still and just be, and you'll be perfect. You're perfect now. I'm perfect. Wajid is perfect right now. And I hope that you'll take time to do that, as well as participate in supporting the work that we are doing. If this resonates with you and you'd like to support us financially, we have a PayPal account for your security as well as ours. And when you go to give, they'll ask you for an email address to whom to send the gift. And that gift goes to richard@richarddugan.com. That goes to support the work that we're doing here on Tell Me Your Story. And yes, I am known as Reverend Dr. D, or Reverend Dr. Richard Dugan, whichever case you would like. I am a reverend through the Universal Life Church, as well as Dr. D. I'm your audio physician, but that's for another subject for another time. Wajid, I thank you once again, and I would love to ask you our three final questions. It's what I refer to as now our lightning round of our game show, Tell Me Your Story. The first question is, and I'm going to keep it simple here, okay? Who is Wajid?
I'm a servant of God, a follower of my yogi master, Dr. George King. And even though I'm perfect as a spark of God, I have a lot of imperfections, which I'm trying to correct. So I'm just a run-of-the-mill guy like everybody else.
What is it that you hope to or want to achieve through the work that you're doing now?
Greater realization, inspiration, and a call of action for people to send out spiritual energy to the world.
And finally, what is your life's purpose?
Again, is to leave some kind of legacy for the younger generation that I did come on board and did something that made a difference on the planet, no matter how small.
Again, I thank you so much for giving us so much time. I think we've been speaking here for an hour and a half, and this has been wonderful. And I certainly hope people will listen to this all the way to the end. If you're listening to the radio version, you're going to need to go to the podcast or video cast. I hope that you'll do that. And I hope that you will join us again for our next broadcast, podcast, video cast. And until then, love to love.